you doing, YouTube? It's Will from Will Development, and this is my 276th weekly update. We're back on track now, finally. I'm not missing any more, till the next time. I'll dive right into it a little bit here and talk about... Ooh, did I write down my weights? I did. Okay. Whew. Sometimes I forget to write down my accessory weights, and then I have to do it later, and sometimes I don't remember. It's a problem. Always write down your accessory weights, just so you can keep track of them at least. So, this week was pretty good. I don't know if I've talked about it, and if I haven't, I apologize, but essentially what I'm doing is, it's similar to like undulating periodization, where basically you're self-programming in slow ramp-ups, but they're also programmed per movement / per day. And when I say slash, I mean, Mondays for me are press days, specifically vertical or overhead pressing. Tuesdays are squat days or lower leg days, that kind of things. Pushing with my leg days. Thursday being another press day, but that's usually where I'm benching. And then Fridays are usually a deadlift-oriented pulling kind of day. That being said, a lot of my accessories overlap each other, so, both my press days I'll do other pressing movements, and basically every day of the week I'm doing some sort of pulling motion with my back, because you can never do that enough, in my opinion. Get that back as strong as possible. It can only help. I've never heard of somebody missing a lift because their back was too weak. So, with that in mind, I do back a lot. Pull-ups a couple times a week, that kind of thing, just as an idea of what I'm talking about. But back to the idea of it, essentially it's, and I'm putting all this in layman's terms, basically it's the idea that I'll start out doing sets of 10 on this movement as top sets, and then over the course of a month or 2 months or 3 months or however long you want it to take, I'll slowly work up to heavier singles. So the volume goes down, but the intensity goes up, and the intensity is the weight, and the volume is essentially number of sets or reps. Usually it's reps. No, it's always reps. The number of reps is going to go down. So you may start out doing deadlift on day 1, 3 sets of 10 with whatever weight, and then by the time you get to the end of a wave with the periodization, the idea is that you should be doing like 4 sets of 1. So you've gone from doing 30 reps all the way down to doing just like 4 reps, or even just 10 reps, something like that. These aren't real numbers. I'm just giving examples, and extreme examples at that, just to give the conceptual idea some context for everybody out there. And so with that in mind, I have essentially test weeks and things like that, and we're building it slowly up to a heavy singles on every single movement. And with all that in mind and all that being said, there's a lot of AMRAPs work I'm doing now, which I've been, I would say, neglecting in the past. Things where I probably should be doing more rep work with them, but weren't so much, and good to get a little more conditioning in. Normally my conditioning is handled in my accessories, but there's nothing wrong with making my working sets some conditioning, and I found that much more possible in my upper body days, for sure. Just because there's less muscle there being used, so I found myself able to push a little harder. So I hope that gives you some context for when you watch my 2 videos as to like why it doesn't look like I'm lifting very heavy. What you're usually seeing in my 2 videos on Wednesdays from here for the, probably next few months is going to be my working sets. These aren't the sets that I use to work up to heavy singles or heavy sets. These are my sets that I used afterward. Usually my back down sets is a good way to think about them. So if I work up to a heavy set of 4 at 100 pounds, just easy numbers for you, and then I decide, okay, I'm going to back off and do a total number of reps of say like 20 reps with a particular weight. Now I'll just do that, and I treat it as almost conditioning or an AMRAP, as many reps as possible, just to get some extra work with the particular movement, and it can only help. You know, a little more volume never hurt until it did. So anyway, with that in mind, started off the week with pressing and worked up to a heavy a heavy set of 6 at 145. This was beltless, and the other reason I'm qualifying that is unless I'm doing a heavy day, it's always going to be beltless. So like today, it was a heavy day, and I actually used a belt and straps because got a deadlift coming up in a comp, so I figured I might as well get accustomed to using straps, at least on the heavy training days. Other than that, I still will be pulling hook grip and beltless and all that. Let's see. Tuesday squats, those were kind of rough. Did work up to a 8 rep max of 195 for high bar squats. But that being said, my Zerchers, I went a little bit heavier in the Zerchers on my assistants that day in order to sort of qualify that and make myself feel better. Like, all right, these didn't go so well. Let me push it a little harder in the accessories. And just force myself to move at least a little more weight. And it was a good call because it ended up feeling a lot better on everything. Back felt good and all that stuff. I'll talk about that in just a minute. Bench day, decided to bench with the axle bar because I have an axle coming up, so I wanted to just have an axle in my hand. Probably what I'm going to do in the foreseeable future is honestly I'll do axle on like Tuesdays for my overhead. And then I'll do log on Thursdays instead of bench. Just because both of those are coming up, so I might as well play with them as much as possible. I think that was a mistake I made going to the last comp. I think I overestimated my ability to get used to particular movements. So, you know, if I already know what the events are going to be, why not just do those events leading up to it? Specificity is always going to be king, and I think I ignored that a little more. Had a little more, I'm going to use the word confidence in myself. It might have even been cockiness, but it was definitely more confidence than I probably should have. So going into this one, I'm going to be a lot smarter about it, hopefully, and just like, you know what, these are the events I need to be practicing. Let me practice them as much as I can. And then tonight was deadlifts, worked up to a heavy set of 4 at 385. That was belted with straps. And because I did the 385, and honestly it felt pretty heavy, felt like an RP 9. And I was like, you know what, man, I haven't done it forever. I want it really bad, and if I can do 385 for 4, I feel like I should be able to do 405 for 1. And I put it on the bar, took a minute, had everything set up right, put the straps on, and just fucking pulled it, and that thing fucking flew up. My only regret is that I did not get it on camera as usual. I don't think I've ever gotten 400 on camera ever since my shitty pull of one like 2.5, 3 years ago. So, but I pulled it. It was super fast. I asked like 4 witnesses that were there. I mean, it flew up so fast I was surprised. All of a sudden I was standing upright and I was like, oh my God, I got it. You know, I thought it'd be rough at least if I even did get it, but not only did I get it, I got it easy. So that was a really good thing. I will not be doing that very often. This was one of my test days, so it was one of those, you know what, I know I'm doing 4 rep max, but I want to see what this 1 rep max has. You know, I want to see what I've really got in the tank. Can I still pull this? And the answer is yes. With a belt and straps, I can still pull this. So that felt really good. Quick notes about my back/hip. And it's really, so my pain is more of my hip than my back, and it always has been. But the pain from my hip shoots into my back. And I found myself basically trying to overarch my back too much, and that's where a lot of my low back pain comes from, specifically on my left side. And I've actually been feeling pretty good for the last probably 2 to 3 weeks. 2 to 3 max pain levels. Not the video game or the movie. And it's been feeling really good. And I didn't want to say anything because I don't like to look a gift horse in the mouth. And everything was going good, and I was like, all right, cool. You know what? I think I might pull heavy. I'm going to pull heavy tomorrow. This was last night. I'm like, cool, I'm planning on it. And I will share this with the world. Because I know in about 6 months I'll be able to laugh about it, but right now I'm still really fucking mad about it, and that it happened even. I never get hurt in cool ways. When I originally suffered the trauma to my hip, I fell hard on it, and it was just like goofy shit. I was trying to pull something I couldn't pull. It wasn't even at a gym. It was out and about, and I just fell and landed on it, hurt it really bad, and then over time, just wrong movement patterns just exacerbated the situation. Then last night, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like, cool, I'm going to pull this, I'm going to do that. And I'm in the shower, and I'm like, oh, feet feel kind of slippery, but I'm okay. And I just fucking put left foot down. I was like, all right, it feels slippery, but set yourself, put the right foot down. Both the feet went out, and of course I land right on that side, right on the bad hip. And it just the last 2 to 3 weeks were just washed away, where everything was feeling good. Just washed right away, just taken from me again. And I'm not going to lie, it was, it's tough. It's tough when that shit keeps happening. And it's like, man, you know, I'm doing everything right. Everything's starting to actually feel good. Consistently good. Not just like, oh, I've had a day or two. It's like, no, it's been weeks now where things are feeling really good. I feel like I'm actually doing the right things finally. Numbers are going the way they should. And then boom, again. Boom. Get hit again. And it's just some dumb shit that I know I'm going to laugh about in 6 months. Right now it's still too fresh and angry for me to laugh about, but I know I'm going to laugh about it because it's funny. It is funny. Fucking 26-year-old and I fell in the shower and hurt myself, like, come on, man. But it happened, and not going to lie, it really, really messed up my psyche. Again, I mean, it just, all the negative thoughts you have when you're injured can come right back, and they all came right back, flooding all back at once. All the pain over the last year and a half that I've been dealing with, it all comes and hits you all at once again, and it's just like, is this ever going to be over? And the answer is yes. And the fact that I was still able to go heavy tonight and then even pull a recent PR. I mean, 405 is not a PR for me, but it's not a lifetime PR, but I haven't pulled that in probably a year and a half. I haven't even come close to it in that long. So the fact that I was able to do it tonight, and the fact that it was so speedy, is just a testament to, it's not over. I just got to keep pushing, got to keep doing what I'm doing, take the hit, and just move on from it, Sometimes there's nothing to learn. And that's been a hard thing for me to figure out. A lot of times it's like, okay, what am I learning from this failure or this punch in the face? And honestly, this one, I don't think there was a lesson to it. I think it was just like, damn, it sucks. Shit happens sometimes, Doing everything right, it still failed. And it's life. But with that in mind, there's totally a silver lining to that whole story, and then it's that even with shit sleep last night, and because of the pain, and falling and re-aggravating my hip, I was still able to pull 405, and that felt great. So the moral of the story is, even if you're injured or in pain, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're feeble. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's over. In fact, it never means it's over. Get a plan that helps. Stick to it. Don't stray away from it. And eventually, everything works out. What I'm doing is making me stronger. What I'm doing is fixing me. And I know it is, because the pain has been lessening and lessening. And I felt much more stable on that left leg over the months and weeks. And I know if I just keep doing this, everything's going to work out. So I apologize for the slightly long video. I also want to thank all the new subscribers. I think I'm up to like 124 now, which is cool. I think that's like 5 more up from like last month, which is great. Welcome. I hope you enjoy the channel. I hope there's something here for everybody. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or worries, feel free to drop a comment. I believe I've answered just about every comment I've ever gotten. Sometimes YouTube's weird about showing me the comments that are there, so if I miss it, it might take a week or whatever before I see it again. Because although I'm active every week, I'm only on here once a week, just to do my videos. So, thank you for watching. Stick to the plan, and there's going to be setbacks, and you just got to kind of deal with it. And if you can't deal with it, then what's your excuse?